we all have what I like to call the foster mindset, because after all, to foster means to nourish and encourage and support. And we can all do that. And I say it one more time, we can all do that. And that's a very succinct and simple call to action.
Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, everybody. Lauren here. Welcome to another episode of Cool People, Big Ideas. And today I have on as my guest, Hilary Crowley, author of The Power of Energy Medicine, someone I co-teach with frequently. And we're here today to talk about her TED Talk, which was just released on the TED platform. And it's amazing and incredible. But more than that, we get to talk about how it really feels to put something huge out into the world that is really close to your heart. And Hilary talks about how vulnerable she feels and the things she wished she got to say. And of course, I give her the opportunity to say them. So you get to hear everything. I think you're going to love this. Sit back and enjoy my conversation with Hilary. Okay, everyone, I just hit start because I'm here with, I don't even know what to call you anymore. I'm here with best-selling author, TED Talk deliverer, teacher and healer extraordinaire, Hilary Crowley.
I feel like that was really, that was a Freudian slip. I feel like that was really authentic, except that, and then I almost said awkward because
I thought you almost said awkward.
Yeah, I did because I don't know why, but I like it. I like it a lot. Because I want to be a best-selling author. I think my book freaking rocks. It came out in 2021. I'm an award-winning author.
There you go.
And then why am I not? But who cares, right? Because the right people are reading it. So I am the best people who are meant to read my book, selling author.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I don't remember exactly when your book came out, though. Didn't you hit some best-selling status on Amazon? Which, again, it's not the same as New York Times, but still, I think you hit some best-selling status on Amazon, which means...
I did. I was like in the top 10 for holistic for a second. It's all good. It's because it came out, just let me take you back on a little history lesson of February of 2021, which was like, just if we want to have some hope in humanity to think about how much we evolve, there was no concept of an online book release in February of 2021. In fact, my beautiful bookstore, Water Street Bookstore, invented it as an indie bookstore. They were like, we're going to try something because we noticed that some corporations are doing Zoom calls. So we're going to do a Zoom call, but for a book release. Okay. And in doing so, they forgot to hit record because that was how new we were. And so there's no record of it, except for one of my friends who took a video, Corinne, you've met her. She took a video and she listens to your podcast. She loves it. Everybody should have a Corinne who she's almost like a quality person who will actually listen, give feedback, share, but do it in a way that as a friend and an ally. So back in 2021, she held up her phone. And so there's the only recording of me doing anything in February of 2021 was a friend who took a picture of the computer while it was playing live. Smarty pants that she was. So, yeah, we're good.
That was for people that don't remember February 2021. Do you want to?
Who wouldn't remember? 4-year-olds?
Yeah, or people that have eternal spotlight of the sunshine, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, wipe that slate clean. Just I'm not going to remember the 2, 3, 4, 5 years of COVID.
Yeah. Ironically, there's this amazing woman. I know you're going to hear noise in the background, but you might hear the loons right now. They're going crazy.
I can. Oh, everyone, be quiet for 1 second. Can you hear that?
They're being quiet right now too.
They went
heard you.
quiet. They're like, no paparazzi here.
I just recorded my own episode, and I actually had a wait. Okay, this could go on the whole time. Wait, loon moment, loon moment. So, and also I completely forgot what I was talking about, but then I'm close to remembering it. It's okay. I'll let you be the host.
I'll be the host. So since I'm hosting this episode of Cool People, Big Ideas, and welcome everybody. And I love that we had that kind of like the preamble before the amble, because we're going to take an amble together. And the reason that I asked Hilary to come on impromptu, first of all, y'all know that Hilary is one of the dearest people in my life. Honestly, when there's times where I'm like, life isn't worth living, it's too much, it's too hard, everything's too much, wah, wah, wah. I'm like, but I have Hilary. And that just brings me like the biggest smile. So y'all know how Hilary is, or who she is in my world, and hopefully she's starting to hold that similar, you're so lucky that you have her in your life, in your world. But I asked her to jump on impromptu because just yesterday, whenever this comes out, you'll have to just backtrack to whatever that yesterday is, but just in your mind, just a yesterday. So just yesterday, Hilary's incredible TED Talk came out on the channels. Like it wasn't, those of us who saw it live, and I happened to be lucky enough to do that, got to see it. But there's something that it's like we're in this culture now where like it's not real until it's on Facebook, or Insta or whatever. And so it became real yesterday. And I reposted it. I've looked on Facebook now. Millions of people have reposted it. Maybe not millions, but hundreds. Tens, lots of people. The best selling people have done it. Yeah, the best selling people have reposted it. And so I really wanted to talk to you today, Hill, about how you're feeling. And right before we started to hit record, you said something really honest about it. So I'm wondering if you can just scoop that back up and say really how you're feeling.
I'm feeling I'm feeling vulnerable, right? I'm feeling vulnerable. We know vulnerable is the new authentic, and authentic is the new cool. I know it still feels freaking vulnerable. It's just, you put yourself out there, and you hit replay too. That's the thing about a TED Talk. You've got, 18 minutes, but the truth is, Lauren, now they want you to have it down to 10 minutes. I got in at 12 and a half minutes, and I did the best I could. There's the loons in the moment that I could. And then you just have to let it go. And letting stuff go is actually very vulnerable. Like there's no fixing, there's no perfecting. It's in the can, it's released. And it's my turn to just love on myself, which is also super vulnerable, which is like, good for you. I see an image of myself on the screen. Just rebooted my website that has me standing there looking out at the crowd, wearing a blue shirt, and just, good job, Hill. I just gotta cheer her forward because I carefully crafted the words. It's representing a very, very vulnerable population, which is the foster kids of America. And just kind of a call to action. I mean, I know you saw it, Lauren, so I'm hoping I put out a call to action that embracing the idea of fostering will make this world a better place. Of course, foster the foster kids. They need help. But also, let's just put more fostering into everything we do, starting with fostering ourselves. And foster, if you look it up in the dictionary, I know I put it in the TED Talk, but it might be lost because it's just one line. It says, if you look it up in the dictionary, foster is defined as to nourish, to encourage, and to support.
I love that. I want to just go back just a little bit when you just started here and sort of talking about the vulnerability that you're feeling now that you've put this out there, and go Hill. But I'm not hearing like, go Hill, that was amazing. I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing that you're having to sort of dig deep to what you said at the end, to foster yourself, to nurture yourself through this. So I want to talk about your message in a little bit because it's incredibly important and moving. But I do want to start with you because that's where the whole thing started with. So I get the vulnerability. You've put out an incredible, intimate, personal story of yourself and your family out into the world. So I get that piece of vulnerability. And in my opinion, having nothing to do with knowing you, I want to say that I have a little bit of the ability to separate that as well. Because I was there the whole day of the TED Talk, and there were, 15, 18 TED Talks. And they were all incredible. I mean, everyone did such a beautiful job. And there were also the few, I want to say 3 or 4, that really stood out, that I'm still thinking about their message, their purpose, their reason, how I could get involved with furthering their message and purpose. So to me, that's a crucial TED Talk, like you said, call to action. And so in my opinion, you knocked it out of the park. And so I want to know, is it self-criticism? Is it the director in you? Because for those of you that don't know, Hilary has a very strong and deep theater background in which she's been actor, but also director, producer. So is it the director in you that's like, oh, I missed a beat, or I should have walked left when I walked right? Like, what is it that you are just kind of, I mean, you did this incredible thing. People long to get TED Talks. Like, I know so many people that have been trying for so long to get a TED Talk. You're on this massively huge platform. You had this incredible story that you told. You deliver it with aplomb. And yet you're sitting here saying, go Hill, like you're having to dig deep to even just say that on the podcast.
Go Hill, go. Humor aside, I think it's baked in self-criticism, baked in.
Mm-hmm.
Not for nothing. You're going to get it baked in with a background in dance, like ballet, like you and I did. You're going to get it baked in. I'm just having fun riffing with you while also answering your question in like the most authentic way I can, which is there's a lot of joy. I love your question. And so I'm just loving any opportunity to be seen, heard, and listened to, right? And so theater doesn't really prepare you for a TED Talk, because I didn't get to play a character that day. You don't want to be performative. People will just shut you off if you're being performative. And yet you've got your lines memorized. Just if anyone doesn't know, like, at least in the TED Talks I know, in the TEDx Talks, is like, you're not looking at a teleprompter. You're not looking at a teleprompter. You are, and you're also, you have to have your entire speech. You can go off book if you want to, but it's not a great look because it's been approved. The words have been approved. And I got I think one of the things, Lauren, if you can hear like this kind of like go Hill, like good for you, is that, I wanted to say a lot more. And so I'm happy with what got out there. But I have more to say, and I shouldn't have to sum up an 11-year journey in 12 minutes. Glad that I did. But I want it to be like the beginning of the conversation rather than the culmination of like, oh, I got it done. It's opening up my heart. It's reopening my heart, to think about, here's another less than helpful agreement or belief I have is, have I done enough? Because the answer will always be yes, and it will always be no. It will always be no,
Mm-hmm.
And so because you're not only insightful and intuitive yourself, but you're a good friend. Yeah, I like it. You're like, what's going on, Hill? This is a moment to shine. And you've said this a few times, it's like, what's going on? So I have some work to do to shirk a belief system, or I'm really into the 4 agreements now. So it's an agreement I have that I'm never doing enough. I'm never doing enough. I don't know. Do they call that the type A? I don't know. I never, ever, ever thought I would be in the category of the type A, but maybe I've moved into it with the TED Talk and the book and all this stuff.
I love that. I've thought about that in regards to myself. I don't know, last year at some point when I was just deep into so much work, I thought, who would have ever thought of all the people that I know, my family, like everybody, that I'm the workaholic, like,
Right.
It's just kind of, so I get that, like, whoa, things are shifting.
I have a funny thing. Can I share a funny thing on that? It's just popping up for me. I said once to my husband, it was a nice moment I was having with my husband. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to kind of come out ahead because, I've never really been as competitive as all my friends. Like all my friends growing up, through high school, they all went to like the Ivy Leagues and the good schools. And, why I think going to Syracuse wasn't like one of the good schools. It was a good school, but I was like always putting people above me. And so I said, you know what? I love that I've gone through this life, like, not being competitive, just going with the flow and elevating other people. I think in the long run, that's going to help me come out just fine. And he just said, says the person who just said she wasn't competitive is thinking that she's going to win the long game. So like, I don't know if that just registered with your listeners, but like, I was like, I'm so not competitive that I'm pretty sure I'm going to win the long game. And he said, says the person who says she's not competitive.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Competition ain't that healthy. So if I'm in any kind of competition, then I'm also going to miss the moment, right? Like, did I do as good as everybody else, or am I doing good enough? Or what the heck am I comparing myself to? And more importantly, what on earth does that have to do with the title of the TED Talk is The Unexpected Lessons of a Foster Mom? Like, what does competition have to do with being a foster mom? Like, I'm pretty sure nothing, because you immediately realize you got to just take all comparisons off the table and get busy helping, one child at a time. It's tricky.
Well, gosh, there's just so much that I want to address there. And the previous thing that I wanted to address is gone now for the moment. But so, because I think to your point, and actually to the point of the talk as well, we all are, but I'm just going to stay with, are a multifaceted being. And so, of course, you can be present and fostering and selfless and all of those things that you talk about learning to be. And you're also a career woman. You own your own company. You have for years. You have come up in very competitive worlds, the world of theater. I mean, people like to think about it, it's the arts, it's the most competitive arts that there are, right? I mean, it's just cutthroat.
It's literally one big audition every single night. Your show is being auditioned. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cutthroat within that, with everybody that you're on stage with and backstage with. I mean, backstabbing, all of that kind of stuff that is real in the theater world. And you're an author. And so there is a certain amount of, whether it's competition or needing to succeed, that your book does well enough that you get the next book deal, because it's not about getting the next book deal. It's because you have these big ideas, right? Isn't that TED? You have big ideas that you want to bring out into the world, and you can't do that on a small platform. So you've got that drive. I think maybe we could do a whole podcast at some point about the word and the theory of competition, because I don't think it's a bad thing per se in and of itself. I think it can get out of hand, and you can get single-mindedly driven to a place that's not healthy. But I also think it motivates. It motivates. If you didn't want to be the best that you could be, then you wouldn't even get out of bed. I'd still be sleeping. I'd still be sleeping. Like, why am I going to get up and do this podcast this morning? Because I want to share these insights with the world. And you are such a powerful teacher and speaker. And so let's go back to that. Let's pivot back to that. Unless it looked like you had something you wanted to say there.
I don't know. The one thing I want to talk about, since you're like giving me full permission to be like, I don't know, just like, I'm kind of bummed about like what got cut, that didn't make the time, that didn't make it, like, I was
this
really
is good,
proud of
because that was my next question for you is like, what you said, there's more I want to say. So let's talk about that. First, before you tell what cut, just give a quick little overview. Don't do any spoiler alerts, because I want everybody who's watching and listening to this podcast to watch your TED Talk. We'll put the link in the show notes. We'll make sure everybody has access to that, but give everybody just a little teaser trailer of what it is, and then share with us the things that got cut that you're bummed about.
Okay. I got to say, one thing I'm super happy about is I think the title freaking rocks. Okay. Freaking rocks. Okay.
Yes.
And you don't know what Ted's going to give you as the title. For all I know, I suggested it. You just can't remember. There's just too much out there. And the title is The Unexpected Education of a Foster Mom, How Our Fairy Tales Are Hurting. No, shoot. How Your Fairy Tales Are Hurting Our Foster Kids. Let me just say that for everybody in the back. Okay. How your fairy tales are hurting our foster kids. So I open up and I just start listing off all the characters that we know and love. In my case, because I'm theater, like, yes, I was in Annie, and yes, I was in the Wizard of Oz, and, on stage, and, Mowgli from the Jungle Book, Superman, Batman. Speaking of cutting, I had to cut like 11 of them because I was like Goldilocks and, Cinderella, but also Snow White. Like, all these characters are actually orphans. And that orphan story speaks about how the kiddos are doing great. In fact, they're thriving because we get this beautiful arc of a hero's journey, which is first you're faced with a very, very serious conflict that happens in your life. In this case, it's just the obliteration of your parents. No big deal, and it's like, and like Bambi, they're like, don't even, they actually said, they're like, don't, right. They actually said, don't say Bambi. And I'm like, why not? They're like, we're just going to, we gotta keep the audience engaged, and people will have like out of body trauma experiences if you say Bambi. It's like yelling fire in a theater. Okay. But like, they're like, they're not gonna, Disney wouldn't let the mom get shot. Oh my God. I had to get carried out of the theater screaming in the big, like, IMAX before IMAX was a thing. You'll appreciate it. It was at the Worcester Science Center. Did you ever go to the theater there? I saw Bambi. I saw Bambi in like a globe thing. I might not be okay. But anyway, the point is, is that whoever carried me out, I like to think it's my dad. You know what I mean? Like, somebody carried me out, and it was like merciful, and they also let me scream, which I thought added to the ambiance for the rest of the audience. Like, I just screamed. And so I can't tell you how the rest of Bambi went, but I saw that scene, and TED Talk didn't let me put Bambi in. So anyway, moving forward, that's what it's about. And then I start telling the story that basically says, actually, let's rethink the way we think about the orphan story, because no real life child should be overlaid with this fairy tale that it's cool to be lost and alone. And I took the sarcasm out because sarcasm is not necessary in a TEDx talk. But, between you and me, it's like, I like to put it back, like, cause not the best luck, peeps, like Annie, I did get one laugh when I was like, I know you were there, but it was the biggest laugh I got. I was like, so let's take Orphan Annie for an instance. Like, she did not need a tap dancing nanny. And I didn't expect a big laugh, but I got a big laugh on that. Yeah. I haven't given anything away. That's 1 minute and 42 seconds into the TED Talk. Not that I'm paying attention. That's the biggest laugh happens then. And then the rest of it is just a deep dive into transformation. TED Talk level transformation.
And let's just say this, that's, there's some laughter, but there's lots of like tear jerking moments. Bambi aside.
There's no Bambi. I don't put Bambi.
We had to cut Bambi. And I think it's good. Bambi really is a pivotal trauma story for most of us. I mean, it really is. Shame on you, Disney. Shame on you, Disney. That was, but of course that's what they do, right? They want to pull you in right away and deconstruct you. And then, anyway, we're not going to talk about trauma.
But you being, are we not going to talk about it? But it's you being a 5-year-old, because actually,
yeah.
I actually, maybe we needed more Bambi, because now people are just shooting and they're like, oh, Fortnite or something. I don't know if you're aware. Like, they're like, oh, there's Bambi. I'm going to shoot a bird. I'm going to shoot a waffle. I'm going to shoot a barn. Like, so I don't know, maybe it was the best thing that ever happened to our generation. It was like, hey, think twice. Think twice. We felt the pain of Bambi when mommy was shot, All right. So I'll let you, you can redirect our conversation from Bambi, because I'm full on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how the TED Talk started. And then Hill tells this beautiful story of adopting her own son. She adopted a 9-year-old child who had been in the foster system for a long time. And she had a 9-year-old biological son, which, interestingly enough, actually, I don't even know why I said that, because he doesn't show up in the TED Talk at all. So it's not about him. It's about your son who you adopted, and the first chunks of time that you spent with him when you really didn't know the huge responsibility that you had taken on. You already had a biological child, but because you had him, excuse me, because you had had him since birth, that you had sort of a natural evolution of mothering him. And then you sort of not snatch, that's not the right word at all. You adopt and bring this child who's 9. So he's had some serious experience in his life already into your world. And you're not yet at the very start equipped with the level of sensitivity and presence that is required to allow this child to feel safe and nurtured. And that's the kind of thrust of the talk, is somebody's got to grow up and be the adult here. And that's you. And that was the education that you got. And your gift of giving to us is we all need to grow up and take care of the children. And it's not just the children. It's not only the children. It's not only the foster children who have such a short end of the stick in this world. And you talk a little bit about that in your talk, but it goes further and deeper than that. It is about, like you said, nurturing each other, nurturing the world, and nurturing ourselves so that we can be valuable nurturers of the world and of others. And I don't think it's any mistake that you said, it might have not been a bad thing that we had Bambi as a kind of cultural touchstone for those of us in a particular generation. Because I think we are, the qualities of empathy and compassion are nosediving. A matter of fact, I just saw an article in the Times the other day that was like, why is compassion all of a sudden the bad thing? Nobody wants to be compassionate anymore, when we know all of the physiological benefits. Let's just stop there. All of the physiological benefits of compassion. You are a healthier person if you're compassionate. So you could look at it selfishly. Let me care for others so that I can be healthier. Like, you could strip it that way. But in any case, in the world we're living in now, compassion, empathy, kindness, generosity, those are not the qualities that are being shown and expressed writ large. So I think because of that, your talk was even more resonant, that we really have to refocus our attention on the people who matter, who are all of us, but the children who don't have advocates, to support them. Okay, I just gave up. It was like longer than your TED Talk itself, explaining your TED Talk. Now let's go back, and I want you to talk about where this started, is what you had to cut, what you missed, and what more you want to say, and restate what I said if I didn't say it clearly enough.
Well, Lauren, I just want to let you know that there are definitely like spirit guide, fairies, whatever is going on, because you just like queued me up for, I'm going to just tell you what was cut. And I'm just going to tell you straight on what was cut, and your listeners will hear how we did not compare notes before this. I'm just going to say it to you. Okay. So there was a line that said, I had a lot more lessons to learn along the way. As I was discovering my shortcomings and my lack of being prepared. And I said, and there was no fairy godmother to guide us. But I did get a lot of help, and this is what I learned. I learned the power of apology and forgiveness, And the term for that is called to air and repair. And if you don't have that in your household or in your heart, or even in your workplace, then you're nowhere up to speed to where the foster moms are right now. It's called air and repair. And that alone made me a better person. First of all, the first time I heard it is when I reached out and asked for help and I was crying. My mother had just died. Within a year of taking custody of our son, within months of actually adopting him. And I just said, I cannot do this. I'm failing. Can you imagine being able to have an institution that you can call when you're in the middle of something that's hard? Like they should have like a hotline for marriage, a hotline for relationships, a hotline for being a daughter, but for being a son, for being a parent. But they do have a hotline for foster parents. So I called and I was crying. And they said, Hilary, we wait for these phone calls. Talk about a permission and a accolade, or we wait for these phone calls and we don't get enough of them. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, what you're doing is called air and repairing. You're saying that you don't feel good about the way you're parenting right now and that you need help. And I said, does that mean I'm failing? I'm at the end. Are you coming to pick my child up? Like I'm crying. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I think I was like in a parking lot at a bank nearby. I had to get into my car and make the phone call. And they said, no, it's called airing and repairing. And here I am, never forgetting that moment and just carrying it with me and remembering it, because it's easy to forget if it's not built into your DNA. Air and repair. And then I learned about the power of keeping your heart open, and keeping your heart open during the hard times and the lonely times and the painful times and the toughest times. And that's called compassion. That's called compassion. Being able to keep your heart open during the hard times, the lonely times, the toughest times. So it surprises me not at all that somebody, hopefully AI didn't write that article, but you just scoop up the data and say, oh, we're noticing that from the beginning of time, Lauren, everybody's going to be like, I don't want to do compassion, because that means I don't want to do hard times anymore. I don't want to have to keep showing up. But it turns out as a foster mom, showing up grows your soul. Keeping your heart open when you want to close your, let me put it this way, doing the hard thing is so good for us. It's so good to grow our soul. And so I learned to keep my heart open during the hard times and the painful times. That's called compassion. And then finally, I learned to look for the good and the growth in every moment. I learned to look for the good and the growth in every moment. And simply put, that's called healing. So air and repair, compassion and healing helped me become a better grown-up. I'd love to give anybody the ingredients to that, whether or not they foster or adopt a child. But if you are fostering and adopting a child, I want them to see that lineup. And now the fun part is it got cut. Right? So I didn't get to have, you have your big idea and then you put 3 things underneath it, but I handled it really well. So it was like the dress rehearsal, and I came in and they were talking about like what shoes I was going to wear. They knew I was off book, which means everything is memorized. And then I pulled like a little extra special, and I threw that in because it was so close to my heart. And I thought it was like, what's the point of this if I don't give the real takeaways to the audience? Air and repair, the real power of compassion and the real power of growth and looking for the good in all things. They said, you got to cut that. They're like, it's too long. It's too long. And I said, that's okay. I'll just put it in every podcast I'm interviewed in, and I'll put it in my next book. I'm okay with that. But if I'm honest with myself, I wish I left it in. So, and don't you think that's just a sign of being a creative, of always wanting to give a little bit more, always having a little bit more to share? Like it's okay to not be okay. And Lauren, I know I'm still talking, but there was one other bit that got cut. Do you want me to go with it, or do you want to?
Yeah, keep going. I'm just taking this all in, so you can keep going.
Well, there's a part of the this is more of an athletic little thing I want to share, but it's athletic, but it's also mental athletics. There's a part that I want to share about being alive in this world. And when I got my son, he had not been fully cared for. He had been verifiably neglected. And in case you're wondering, anybody listening out there, about what are the things that qualifies you to put into the foster system, it's not just you're having a bad day, or your parents are having a bad day, or even your parents are struggling with addiction or mental health issues. The bar that you have to pass is that the state foster system has determined that your life is at stake. So my little boy, for reasons I'll never understand, passed that bar, and they believed that his life was at stake. And he's my boy. And the idea that he wasn't safe at age 8, even though I didn't get him till 9, time travels interestingly, right, Lauren? Like, the idea that he wasn't okay then just breaks my heart. So he and I and my husband and his new brother, who is my other son, we thought it would be cool. It was the middle of the summer that we got custody of him, exactly 11 years from the day that the TED Talk dropped. But that's just, again, how the energy field works, right, Lauren? So I can't make that up. So exactly 11 years to the day, we scooped him up, but we were like, we're going to actually go on vacation, which is questionable because he didn't need a vacation. He needed to be grounded in his own home. But hey, summer is summer in New England. So we got right up to a lake, and he kept jumping in the lake. He kept jumping off the dock. And I had to get really, really strict with him because he didn't know how to swim. All right. But the problem wasn't that he didn't know how to swim. The problem is that he didn't know how to swim. And to me, that is the greatest metaphor for neglect. And that's what these children deserve. Those of us to step forward as grown-ups and say, I'm not mad at you for not knowing how to swim. That's not even your responsibility. But it's my responsibility to keep you alive. And up until this moment, I don't know what your relationship was with water and swimming, and I can see that you love water. But when you jump off the dock, you don't come up until I come get you. So you don't know that you don't know how to swim. And that got cut as well, even though we really love that line because it's a clever line. I said, the first thing I did is gave him swim lessons, because not only did he not know how to swim, he didn't know that he didn't know how to swim. And so, Lauren, handing it back to you, how many things in this world do we not know that we don't know how to swim?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. It's a lot. It's a lot. I just think at this point in our podcast, people should take a pause and go listen to the TED Talk. It's so beautiful. You handle the swimming metaphor, not a metaphor. It is a metaphor and it's not a metaphor. It's both, which is why it's so powerful, because it's the truth. And it's also, it's like, what makes literature or what makes great literature. It's like, there's the book, there's the story, but then there's the story underneath the story. And great literature has the story underneath the story. And you might not even find that for many reads through. And so the story beneath the story of that talk. And here's my hope. I'm going to come back to this idea of competitiveness, because competitiveness, not that like you're racing against anyone, but, the algorithm that's going to, elevate your talk into virality, if that's a word.
Let's make it a word. I like it.
Let's make it a word. We want the virality of this TED Talk so that this message gets out there. And from that, I think the opportunities for you to be able to share the deeper story, what you just shared with us, and let me see if I can remember it, because it might be something that we need to hear a few times. Compassion, air and repair, and healing. I mean, if every one of us took that on, air and repair, and I kind of think I know, but I'm going to point this out because it works both ways. Is it air, E-R-R, or is it air, A-I-R?
It does work both ways. I love that. It's air, AIR, which could mean breathing air, but it means to air out, to say not hold it in, not to hold your breath, to speak it out. So to air, like I need to air my grievances. I need to air my complaints, airing. But it also I have to air my errors. Looks good. Yeah.
Well, when you first said it, I thought it can't be AIR. That's too on the nose. It must be ERR. I made a mistake and I'm going to repair it, right? Because that's a very psychotherapeutic language. Repair. Yeah. That's what everyone who's in therapy is doing, is repairing. Relationship to self, relationship to others. It's all about repairing. And so when you first said it, anyway, I'm glad it works both ways. Air and repair. You're either acknowledging that you've made a mistake and you want to repair that, or you just have to let something out that you've been pressing down, holding in. You need to let that out and then repair. So what you would be repairing if what you let out was damaging, or what's the repair then on the airing AIR?
Well, the airing does the repairing, and
Yes.
that one, airing does the repairing. So imagine that I hadn't gone through my life realizing that if I just speak that I'm sorry, that opens the gateway for repair, which would be the opposite of shame, right? Where I hold in the shame. So air and repair is the elixir or the medicine to shame. So I mean, you have social workers, you have psychologists, but then you've got like the frontline people who are the foster social workers, who are just going into homes that are like definably dysfunctional on purpose, because they're like, we're the ones who gave you the trauma from another child, and we're gonna mess your life up really bad. But trust me, and I heard it so many times, and believe me, when I heard it, I didn't trust them. I was like, this is really, 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 really hard. And they're like, but it's going to be okay. I'm like, I have no sense that it's going to be okay. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to survive. And like, you know, if you're a foster parent and you're not going like, what have I gotten myself into? Then, I don't know, like I mean, you have all of this, and then imagine that this is how villages were built. Like imagine that the idea of fostering, let's go to like a little village right now. Like we can do cabins or tents, or maybe we're nomadic, like just sleeping on mats in a circle of like a grove of, you know, rocks. I don't know. Is that such a thing? But like, just imagine that, like, you're not really caring that much about who gave birth to who. It's just, everyone knows that like little Billy Bear's having a tough time. Right. And so everybody's going to want to nurture, encourage, and support Billy Bear, because if he's doing better, then everybody sleeps better, or, the grandparents would have, you know, the grandmothers who wouldn't necessarily have a lineage of grandparents. So they wouldn't necessarily have a lineage back to the child in the bloodline, because not everyone's going to be related to everybody. That's just the way nature works, which is, thank God that we're not all blood related. So we have this built deep into our soul to actually feel the discomfort rather than the nuclear family comfort, the discomfort of welcoming in some of the errors, as you said, of a child, or which brings it out in myself. I mean, it is deep. Like, I did not realize how angry I was until I had to face my son's anger. Okay. The anger I had was all painted in the same palette of my ancestors. So it looked pretty, you know, or it was like, it blended in, you know, and all of a sudden he comes in with neon orange, and I'm just like, that's not my color. And he's like, yes, it is, Mom. You know, like, let me, how does it work for you when it's not, you know, when you can't just impose this dysfunctional, high functioning, but dysfunctional isolation and rigidity, which is like baked into our culture, which goes back to the article you talked about, which is like, yeah, somebody's going to write an article that says, we don't really like to feel uncomfortable. That's like we're just really have a huge aversion to feeling like pain and discomfort, and that's ouchy, you know. And it's like, oh God, help us, you know. That's not the human experience is to lean into those moments with an open heart, and the human experience is to get the grand reward of the gift of compassion, which, by the way, means to suffer together. Compassion means to suffer together. And suffer doesn't mean, oh, suffer, pain, the worst possible suffering I could ever witness. I don't want to have to experience that awful suffering that I'm witnessing. Suffer, the etymology of suffer is to just go under. So there's the swim metaphor too, that you can't make that up. It's like, suf means to just go under. So think more like dolphins. Like, in order for a dolphin to get from point A to point B, they have to suffer. That means they have to go down and come up, go down and go up, go down and go up. So you have to move. You have to do something. You climb mountains in a way that, like, I can't, you know, I just can't. But like, if I had to, you know, I would suffer with you, you know. But like, is it easier for me to not climb the mountain with you, Lauren? Never mind the fact that I'd be afraid of mountain lions and grizzly bears. Is it easier? Yeah. But am I a better, wholer person if I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this. Like, life can't be ease. It's just such a deep. Ease isn't good for humans. It's not good for humans.
And as a matter of fact, I want to have a whole podcast about that. But hold on, put a pin in that for a second, because I want to also flip. I love the suffering to go under. I've always broken down the etymology to undergo, which is just the same thing, but flip, but has very deeply different connotations. So to undergo simply means to, what is it that you're going through? You could say through instead of under, to go through. It's just like you are going through your life. You are undergoing the challenges of your life, the joys of your life. It is just what is going on, the ongoingness of life. But I love the to go under because that also implies a depth, as opposed to just like kind of fluttering along the surface. This is my life, but it's like the deep dive of life to undergo. And I think that does get to the essence of suffer. But either way, it doesn't imply necessarily this pain that many people correlate with that word. So compassion, to together undertake a journey. I promise you, if we go climb a mountain together, first of all, we'd be so lucky to see a grizzly bear. And they are so beautiful. To see a grizzly bear in their natural habitat is one of the most awe-inspiring things of life. And I will say this, one of the last times I saw a grizz up in Glacier Park, we were relatively close, not dangerously close, but there was a lot of us down below watching this grizz up above, digging the dirt, eating berries and all this stuff. And then the grizz started to come down towards the trails. And then we were like, you know what? It's time to get out of here. And we're walking really fast, not running, but we're walking. Like, we have plenty of space between us, but it is clear that if that grizzly wanted to get to us, they are fast. And I have a little video that I took once we finally got far enough where we, around the corner, and we see where we're going in the distance, surrounded by these gorgeous peaks. And I took a little video, and I'm like breathless and shaking with the intensity and the excitement of it all. That said, it is a lucky experience to see a grizz. And in terms of cats, I don't know, I've seen maybe 2 cats the whole time that I've lived out west. It is very rare to see a cat. And they're a little more dangerous, I think. Regardless, we're going off topic just because you got me all excited about bears and cats.
No. Trust me, your listeners are riveted right now, because so am I. Keep going. Okay. So the compassion piece, the going under. But what I want to come back to too, because I'm not mocking this. This is a serious
it was a serious moment in your talk, but you said you only got one real laugh line when you talked about the tap dancing nanny, but you got another laugh line. Now, granted, it might have been some nervous laughter. Matter of fact, I'm sure that it was, but it was propulsive, and it was more laughter than the nanny, tap dancing nanny, because what you said, you challenged all of us, and you left a beat there, because your challenge was, I mean, look, you're doing a talk about being a foster mom. You're talking about the foster system and how whacked it is, and how all of these children, not all, many of these children get lost, abused. Let's just be honest here, abused in the system, neglected in the system that is built to potentially or purposefully to save them. And yet a lot of children find the opposite happens in the system. You talked about some very disturbing facts that happen within the nervous system. I almost said same also within the foster system. But then you challenged everyone in the room, and you said, there's a... To be clear. You want to say the line? Go ahead. You say that. Give us the line.
To be clear, there is a huge need for more foster parents. And if you want to have the most, and I said it kind of like this too, if you want to have the greatest adventure of your life, then you too can become a foster parent. And apparently that landed as a laugh line.
Everyone in the room was like, what? And then what was your next line? Your next line was, but there's other ways to foster. Yeah. Actually, yep. But that's okay. I did pause, and you'll see when you watch it that there's a moment where I'm collecting myself because I didn't mean to make a laugh line. And I also think it brought back, let me just tell you what I think happened. In my mind, I believed in my dream state that I was in, that the person who laughed, not the room that laughed, I heard one person laugh, was a foster parent as well. And you'll see me point at that person because I thought it was like, it's a little bit more than the greatest adventure of your life. It's even more powerful than that. And that's, I think, what everybody laughed at, like the greatest adventure, because you're saying like this is way more than an adventure, right? But then that call to action, everyone's in the room like, do I have to become a foster parent now? And it was this internal tension that was like, and then you released it by saying there's other things that you can do too. But
there's
something
the whole
called
room laughed. Yeah, so the whole room, I'm so glad you're there. You got to hear the whole room laugh because I couldn't. I was, tunnel vision, tunnel hearing. Yeah. And I said, but we do have something that's built into any of us. And it did sound a lot like this, but there's something we can all do. I was trying to bring us back to the ground because it is so close to my heart. We all have what I like to call the foster mindset, because after all, to foster means to nourish and encourage and support. And we can all do that. And I say it one more time, we can all do that. And that's a very succinct and simple call to action. I'll never know if it lands, but I appreciate having another chance to say it here on to your world, Lauren, because we can all do that, to nourish, to encourage, and to support. In the small things, to pay attention.
Yeah. I want to say this, and as a teacher as well, because we're both teachers, we actually teach together. Every year we teach together, whether it's at Kripalu or Omega. We teach together at retreat centers, and we're always, planning what are we going to teach and what are our takeaways going to be. And so we know this kind of little recipe that if your students get 3 takeaways from a weekend, that is rich. Like that's rich. And we remind ourselves that because, like you said earlier in this podcast, we tend to overgive, right? We want to just like give everything we know, and that's overwhelming and doesn't always land anyway. And so we've kind of, let's ease things up a little bit. Let's make sure they have 3 takeaways. But the other piece of that is also, was one person moved and affected and transformed by whatever the teaching is? If you have 100 people in a class, or 40 people, or 30, or 3,000, if one person has a pivotal experience there, you're successful. if 100 people do, that's great. But like, be realistic and be, what is it that you're going for? And I always feel that if one person hears this message, then I'm successful. And so you just said something about, I hope it lands. And so I want to, both mirror that, but also like come to a pinpoint with that and say one person was affected by that. I know that for a fact because that one person was me, right? Oh, so I want to share my takeaway from that. And I've talked on other podcasts as well about, I don't have biological children, and that's been a source of grief in my own life. And so I'm listening to your TED Talk and I'm like, you know, what does this mean for me? And, you know, the fostering mindset and all of that. And I really sat with it for a few days because it's an incredibly moving experience, your talk. Maybe extra more because I know you, but I think anyway, you'll see. Please leave comments in this podcast after and leave comments on Hill's TED Talk. I want to know if you feel as moved by her talk as I did. I'm competitive with that. Were you as moved as I was? But I went home and I really thought about the foster mindset, and I realized I did this reflection, this recapitulation of all of the people, but not just people, but all of the children in my life, children, teenagers, young adults that I have fostered and that I continue to foster. And I had never looked at it like that before. But after your talk, I thought about that. One child in particular who was, him and his brother were my movie dates forever. Cause I love, Disney aside for having traumatized me, I love all the kids' movies. And so I needed some kids to go. I mean, I go see those movies all day long as an adult alone, but it's kind of more fun to go with the kids. So I had these kids, my best friend's children, they were 9 and 11 when I started taking them to all the movies together, Inside Out, Fantastics, you know, all those. And the younger of the boys grew up, and he had a very difficult time when he was 16. He actually had a suicide attempt, and that was just thankfully unsuccessful. And he is now a young man and just beautiful, grounded, a helper. So interesting because he's become the helper because, of course, some of his trauma, which led up to that attempt, really showed him how many other children struggle. And then there's another child in my life who is in a very similar place that man was at the same age. Not certain he wants to continue in this body, in this life. And I connected the two of them together so that the young man who's struggling could have an older man who was not that far removed with the same struggles to be able to speak to him directly. Now, I'm not saying all this to like pat myself on the back. What I'm saying is that there are many ways to foster, and that if you look back in your own life, for me, it was a very moving experience to look back and see all of the children that I have fostered and that I have helped and that I have supported and that I'm there for and that I'm an ear for. And it made me feel airing and repairing, compassion, and healing. Like I felt those things within me. I felt that fostering mindset, and it is nourishing and sweet. And it made me want to do more of that, to help more. And I think that if that was your message, it landed even to someone who doesn't have biological children, who doesn't have foster children, but who does have, the foster mindset.
I love it. That fills me up. That fills my cup for sure. I love that. Yeah. Very, very much so. And it's always like, it's pretty cool when an interview actually feels like a healing session. So I don't know, you must do this with all your guests, but you're good at this, Lauren, because, what happens when we get around these campfires, and feel fully listened to, I feel transformed right down to every time I look at the recording again of me back on May 9th. I'll just, I'll be looking at it and saying, I will be saying like, good job, Hill, you did it. You know, like you did it. You did it. You know, you don't do it for the accolades, but you do want to do it for that inner like purpose, you know, to have a purpose. And I feel that in my bones, what you just said. And I definitely think that when I was younger, I made a promise to myself to help make this crazy world a little bit better. And I feel like I've made in many, many ways, but this one in particular, in a very public way, I've made good on that promise.
Wow. That's about as full circle as you can get from the very subdued, not believable cheer to what you just gave us right now. Yeah. I mean, yes. You have made the world a better place. Your continued presence in the world makes it a better place. Your teachings, your gifts, everything that you share, your vulnerability, your brilliance, makes the world a better place. So I'm so grateful that I have you in my life and that you're willing to share your ness with everybody here on this podcast and out in the world and on the huge TED stage, which is just going to grow bigger and bigger. And so thank you for being here. I want to encourage everyone that's listening, go find Hilary's TED Talk. And one of the things that this talk has started to open up by design and also just by the magic of the universe is, I mean, I don't know if you've picked this up yet, but Hilary is an incredible speaker / teacher. I'm not sure if she's the teacher speaker or the speaker teacher. It's all kind of one and the same. But more than that, I mean, I teach, but she keynotes. And that's a big difference. And so Hilary has now started to deliver talks and keynote lectures to communities all over the world, I want to say, because she's doing some online as well. And so she's available to share her brilliance, and her topic list is extensive. I am giving a little plug. I don't often do this, but I'm giving a little plug. If anyone's listening right now that has an organization that needs inspiring, that needs repair, compassion, healing, and joy and laughter too, all rolled up with it, reach out to Hilary, because she's really amazing, and get her while you still can, because I have a feeling she's going stratospheric. I hope that you never lose my phone number, Hill.
That's impossible, Lauren. We already did that, and we found each other anyway.
That's true. We did.
So amazing.
Awesome.
So amazing.
Any last thing that you want to share, since you didn't get to share your last things with Ted? Let's get it now. What any last things that you want to share with us?
I guess I want to just share how grateful I am, and how, I just, when I was in the middle of the storm, 11 years ago, that went on for a long, long time, I couldn't see the other side of the storm. And, I just went through the storm, speaking of, you know, going on and through things and undergoing. But I just want to let anybody know, if they're going through a storm right now, no matter how big it is or whatever is in your weather forecast, I do highly recommend to just like check in with yourself, see what nourishment you need, see what encouragement you need, which is the peace of the heart. And if you don't have support, look for support. Support is non-negotiable in the human structure of things. And we are built to get through hard times. We're built to grow through hard times. And I just want to stand as evidence that tough times can happen. And who would have thought that 11 years later, all I can do is stand and teach from that place. And everybody's better for it, including both of my sons. So hang in there, everybody. That's my message. 'Cause it's just, your grip only gets stronger if you hang in there. It's really, we're better for it. So that's think that's it. That's the pep talk that doesn't go with the TED talk, but it definitely goes with this podcast.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. Hang in there. Your grip only gets stronger. Do that. That's amazing. That's great. You got to write that down. That's a keeper. That's so smart. That's so smart. And
but I'm that's a thing. Yeah.
What? It's a thing. I mean, what?
It's a thing. Like if you can't do a pull-up, just hang. Yeah. Because while you're hanging, one of the reasons we can't do pull-ups, whoever we is, it's not on my top 10 list of things to be able to do, but it could be on yours. One of the reasons that a pull-up is so hard is because you're not used to actually holding your own body weight with your hands, with your grip. So hang in there is the first step of working your way towards a pull-up on a pull-up bar. There you go.
I love that. So many metaphors all we've woven through here.
Yeah.
But I have to just last little exclamation point. I'm so glad that you brought up that both your sons are doing so well right now. And I have to mirror back because I know both of your sons and they're incredible, beautiful men and powerful, good men that you brought up. And so thank you for that. We need more of that. And I'm glad that you circled us back to that because the fostering mindset that you developed through your own experiences and then brought up through your two boys and then brought out through the TED Talk is really evident in flesh and in the etheric world of the internet. So,
if you have any parents listening right now, or anybody who's fostering anybody or has this idea of worrying about the small stuff such as like homework and grades and ratings and making a team or winning or losing or anything, it doesn't matter. The top dogs, the people who go through life protecting children in the foster system, sat in my living room when I was like, he's not doing his homework. I'm concerned about that. Like the old Hilary. And, they had one line. They said, you're not raising like a winning athlete. You're not raising a, top student. You're not even raising a student. You're not even raising an athlete. You're not even raising a baker or a butcher or, you know what I mean? Like you're raising a good heart. They said, that's our only measure. And once again, a little teacher like notepad went in the back of my head, said, we should be telling this to everybody. Just raise a good heart. And that's it. And the rest of it is their choice and it's their adventure, not ours.
So many mic drop moments in this, but that is the mic droppiest of all. That might be the title of the podcast, Raise a Good Heart. Thank you so much, Hilary, for joining me from your vacation home. I really appreciate you taking the time out of hanging out with the loons to hang out with us. It's been a pleasure, as always, and I look forward to talking to you next time.
Oh, thank you so much. I look forward to it as well, Lauren.
Right on. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Check out that TED Talk. You are going to be blown away. Bye, everyone.
Alrighty, Energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you. So please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates. So light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.